you had to come in by rail, but the accommodation was there. We had tracked vehicles to go out onto the glacier, and it was a whole new set of rules. We had to have, you know, like sticks in the ground about 10 yards apart, because if you get a blizzard come in and a whiteout, you have to have that, otherwise you'll never find your way home. I used to drive on it, tracked vehicles, and that's where we shot it. And we got the whole crew in, we're all there, and the first day of shooting there was a raging blizzard going on. Now we had a blizzard in the film, and I wasn't figuring to shoot that on location, because you can't create a blizzard in a real location because there's too much depth. You go onto a set in a studio, and basically you have a white cyclorama backing, and then you blow styrofoam through. That's how you create it. You can't create it in reality. So we're there, and we're shooting literally outside our backs at the hotel wall, and we're shooting Mark Hamill on the Tauntaun and the rest of it. I got a picture of myself on the Tauntaun in magazine out there. And I went, Christ, the only person that wasn't there was Harrison Ford, because he wasn't scheduled for anything except the blizzard, which I was going to do in the studio. So I got this real blizzard, and I'm talking to Eric Kirshner, and I say, look, as we're stuck against the wall, we're shooting blizzard scenes we weren't scheduled to shoot with Mark. I need to get Harrison in. So I rang the studio in London and said, get Harrison on the next plane to Oslo. And then, because of this terrible blizzard, the railway was closed. So I got the location manager, and I gave him a bottle of whiskey, and I said, and he got on the snow plough, and I said, go to Oslo and get Harrison back tonight. With a bottle of whiskey in his hand. So Harrison flew into Oslo, and they got him on the snow plough because the train wasn't working, with the location manager, with the bottle of whiskey. And I sat up that night, you know, waiting and waiting. And Harrison arrived at 1 a.m. with, you know, the bottle of whiskey. I think it was about that. And he came out, and he looked at me, he said, Robert, call my agent. He was kidding, because I was breaking every rule in the book. I said, come on, Harrison, you're on set for 7 a.m. tomorrow. Completely against the rule book. And he did it. And we shot the blizzard scene in a real blizzard. Wow. Saved us down the line. But those are the kind of ways there's a Norway story for, if you like, because we did it. And we shot in, then the weather cleared up, and we went out in our tracked vehicles out onto the glacier and did the broader stuff. And then second unit stayed behind afterwards to pick up all the stuff that we did. So there you go.
Was that the most difficult place to film, or was it Tunisia, or was there another set where it was really difficult?
Do you know, movies are always difficult. You know, particularly if you've only got $100. Isn't that right? It's really hard to make a movie for $100, isn't it? No, they're all difficult. Yes. I can't tell you which, you know, it's like a constant succession of things that come at you, and you've got to be instantly making decisions, changing bits and pieces, because it's like an organic thing. You know, it's like the movie itself is alive, it has a life of its own, and it shows you, in a sense, what you need to do. If that makes sense to you guys, but it is organic, and it's something you've got to tune into, and you know what to do instantly when something comes up to differentiate. I gave an example there of what happened in Norway. That's typical, but constantly things like that were happening. You have to be like ready to adapt, because it's an organic, it's a live entity in a strange way.
So it sounds like as producer, you're setting the schedule and keeping everything on budget. Is that your biggest?
Basically, what I'm doing is the director is directing the movie. I'm doing all the rest. It's the overview. I'm doing what's happened, the sets that are being taken down, the sets that are being built, but I'm also directly involved in what's happening today as well. But the director is the focus, and is, in the end, many who, for film buffs, made all these huge movies like Ben-Hur and God knows what else. And there's an old story that goes around about when Cecil B. DeMille was shooting something similar to the Red Bridge. In other words, you've got about 10 cameras on this thing, which is a one-off thing. And he had 10 people out there, and the 10th one, he brought in some old guy who he'd worked with many, many years ago, and put him on the 10th camera, because he knew he was a good stalwart, right? So, they get to the moment, they shoot the scene, the thing happens, kaplammy, whatever it is, Red Bridge, whatever. And afterwards, you do what you do. The assistant director will go round and check each camera to make sure they didn't have a problem. So in this one, Cecil B. DeMille personally goes around, camera 1, oh no, I had a jam, camera 2, I had a jam, camera 3, so in the end, he gets up to camera 9, had a jam. He goes, oh, my old stalwart from years ago will help me. So he goes up, hey, Fred, how you doing? Okay? He said, ready when you are, CB. Sorry, that's an old movie industry joke. No, I've never had one go wrong like that was irreparable. I then picked up a few bits and pieces for us. And there's a terrible reflection in the original Raiders of the Lost Ark when Harrison Ford's down there and the cobra comes up. There's a reflection in the glass. I hated that shot, but it was pure chance the cobra did it. We had to use it. Well, if you look at the present version, they've taken it out. We couldn't do it in those days. CGI, take out the reflection. Every time I looked at that shot, I used to wince, but it was worth it. And it was, it was a judgmental decision to say, okay, there's a reflection. People are going to see it, but we got that cobra doing that. You can't train a cobra to do that, just did it. There was a glass between the cobra and Harrison. So there you go. That's fixed now, but it couldn't at the time. The movie went out, and lots of the fans noted it. Yes, of course they did.
Speaking of that scene, how difficult was it to work with all those live snakes?
Well, basically, most of the snakes were really harmless. They were things called glass snakes. The biggest problem for me, and if you ever saw the original documentary, you'll see it, I had 2,500 snakes that I had the animal handler who got 2,500 of these snakes that were there. And I'm not always on the set, as I say, I've got all kinds of other things going on. So I'm out there, I'm in the office or wherever, and I get word, through the radio, oh, Stephen wants to see you, so come down on the set. And Stephen said, Robert, we need more snakes. It's in one of the documentaries. Actually, the current one, there's a gag on it from the other film. We need more snakes. I said, what? You've got 2,500 snakes out. We need more, Robert, we need more. In 2 days, I've got another 5,000 snakes. And they come in from Amsterdam in Holland, because that is a place where they have people who deal in, animals, pets, anything. I went through there for the tapirs that were used on 2001 Space Odyssey in the opening sequence with the apes. They came through Amsterdam, so the animal handler, 5,000 more snakes 2 days later. So it can be done. Not always, but that worked. I mean, Stephen asked me a couple of times, I couldn't do what he wanted because I just physically couldn't. He wanted to shoot, for example, Last Crusade, he wanted to shoot a set earlier than it was scheduled, and I just couldn't, because the art department, they couldn't build it fast. No, you accept that. More snakes? Anything you want, Steve.
What do you do with them afterwards?
We sell them back to pet. There are thousands of them. And in Last Crusade, where we used rats, because they're brown rats, right, you can't buy them